Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first video of the year here on NT Auto Reviews. My name is Tyler as always, and today we are checking out the 2021 Alfa Romeo Stelvio and the all-new, sort of more basic trim level, the Sprint. So first off, I'd really like to show you the window sticker. Unfortunately, I can't really because it's such the darkly tinted glass on the rear windows. But basically how Alfa Romeo sets up their window stickers is we pretty much have all of our standard features over here and our options in the center. And that's really what I'd like to highlight since so we know what we're getting into with this particular vehicle. Now this does have a couple of options. As I said earlier, this is the Sprint model, which is the new base model of the Stelvio, so it slots below both of the TI models. However, getting back to the packages, there are a few packages and options that I'd like to highlight, such as the Sun and Sound package. It gives you a little bit better of an audio system. You also get the dual pane sunroof. This one also has the Performance package, which gives you the aluminum column mounted paddle shifters, and you also get a limited slip differential on the rear. This one also has the cold weather package, which helps out on days like today, where I actually showed up to film this car today, and it was covered in snow from last night's little dusting. And that contains the heated front seats, heated steering wheel, and heated washer nozzles, which is all a really huge plus, again, like I said earlier, if you're in New England like I am. This also has the Active Assist 1 package, which gives you obviously a lot of assist features. So blind spot warning, adaptive cruise control, auto dimming exterior mirrors. You also have automatic high beams, front and rear parking sensors, infrared windshield, lane departure warning, and uniquely enough, a perforated leather shift knob. And that package is only $595, so it's kind of a must on this car. It's really not that bad. And the last option I'd like to highlight is these wheels. So these are a little bit of an optional wheels. They cost an extra $500. So that pretty much does it for the options column. You have a $1,295 destination fee and a total sticker price of $49,830 for this particular Alfa Romeo. Again, on the window sticker towards the right, I know you can't see it, but we have fuel economy information, crash test ratings, and our parts content. Okay, so stepping back to take a look at the side profile, you can really see the body lines coming around, starting on the fender and moving back towards the rear door. Then you also have some creases towards the bottom too with the cladding. Really good looking side profile of this vehicle. And although it's not classified as one of those coupe SUVs, you have a really nice slanted rear profile too with the rear glass over there. However, you do have 11 total color options available, this one being the really cool looking Misano Blue, named after the Misano racetrack, and the wheelbase stands at 111 inches. And taking a walk back finally to look at the rear profile, we can discuss drivetrain options back here. Now there's two motors available for the Stelvio, just like the sedan version of the Giulia. We are working with the 2-liter turbocharged inline 4, which is the basic power plant. You can also opt for the bonkers 2.9-liter twin turbocharged V6 in the Quadrifoglio trim level, and those are the two engines available. You can also choose between rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive in the base model like we have here. However, everything above the Sprint trim level, such as the TI, TI Sport, and the Quadrifoglio, those all come standard with all-wheel drive. Another thing I'd like to mention is towing. If you get the trailering package, you can tow up to 3,000 pounds. Alright, so details of the exterior on the 2021 Stelvio. Now the Stelvio came out in 2018, so it's a pretty new car in terms of life cycle. And it's remained pretty much the same throughout 2018. There was a few updates last year in 2020, and it really helped refine this car quite a bit. And those are some things I'd like to point out, mostly in the interior, but let's get back to the exterior. We can start off with our headlamps, and they are HID high and low beams. And you also get LED turning indicators and LED daytime running lights. pretty large headlights that continue into the very famous Alfa Romeo triangular grille. You can also see we have parking sensors that span throughout the front bumper. And we also have our radar down here for the adaptive cruise control and various other front assists. Alright, so looking at the hood, you kind of have this long sloping style hood. One thing I'd really like to mention here is that the fenders kind of wrap around so you have like a flat surface that meets up with the hood. That's a pretty neat feature. You don't see that a lot with vehicles now. Taking a look at the wheels, you have a optional, pretty neatly styled 18-inch wheel, painted in silver, and they are alloys. And the tires measure 235/60. This is really the reason why I chose to do this vehicle, because these optional wheels you don't see that much, and also that beautiful Misano blue. Take note to the black cladding that also goes all the way around the wheel arches and down the side. That helps prevent all the dirt and grime getting caught up on the paint. We have the matte chrome surrounding the windows. And our mirrors have the LED turn signal indicators and the blind spot warning on them as well. You can see the little triangle that'll light up yellow if someone's in your blind spot. Both the front door handles have these smart key entries, so you just press the button to lock, it'll beep and the mirrors will fold in. And to unlock, you just put your hand behind the handle. Same wheel and tire setup back here, so they're not staggered or anything. You have your fuel door on the driver's side. Taking a look up top, you have a panoramic sunroof with the shark fin antenna. You have a little roof spoiler and the roof rails as well. Very aggressive looking taillights, again with the triangle shape that matches with the grille, I guess you could say. All LED back here too. You can see our Q4 all-wheel drive badging, the Alfa Romeo logo, and the Stelvio badging. You can see underneath the lip we have the rear view camera and trunk release, and some pretty large exhaust finishers, and more of that black cladding to help reduce all of the dirt and rocks that will collect on the paint. Alrighty, let's check out what this 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder looks like. Alright, so this is one of the more strong 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinders on the market. It makes really good horsepower, really good torque. This is actually a pretty quick SUV, despite this being the basic engine. I believe the 0 to 60 is right around 5.5 seconds. So this is a really quick SUV, again, despite this is the base engine. You can see the hood release right here. You just move it over. And it's a pretty clean engine bay. You can see all of the belts up front, and you can also see the amount of space from the radiator to the pulleys. It's quite a bit of space, and they utilize that space when you get the V6 motor. You can also see a strut brace going all the way across, and that helps out in the handling department too. See the intake out front, and all of your fluids are easy access. You also have lining on the top, on the bottom of the hood, and that reduces your noise that comes out of the engine bay. And I'll put all the exact figures to both of the motors in a little description box below. Okay, so let's head into the interior. I want to start off by listing the color options you can get. Now on the Sprint, you can see that we have the brown leather. You can also choose between a black, a light gray, a brown like you see here, or a red. Now if you get the TI with the Lusso package, it comes with a very light beige. So there are very many different interior color choices available. This one I found to be a little bit unique because of the exterior and interior color combination. Now let's talk about materials first. Up here you have a soft to the touch material. You can also get a sort of extended leather package, which will give you stitched leather up here as well as on the dashboard. However, this car does not have it. So you're seeing the basic material, still very nice. You have some of this sort of wood grain trim. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be wood grain, but it's a really nice looking material here, and you could actually feel it. You have the door handle with the lock and unlock buttons, 3-person memory. You have leather down here on your armrest and some contrast stitching. And down here is a hard touch plastic. You do have some storage in the door that's carpeted at the bottom. And there are also 3 different speaker setups. So 2 are Alfa Romeo branded and 1 is a Harman Kardon setup. We have sort of the mid-range speaker setup. Now coming standard is an 8-speaker setup. You can also get the 10-speaker setup like we have here, which comes with a subwoofer. That is a part of the Sun and Sound package. Then stepping it up to the TI trim level, you can also get a 14-speaker Harman Kardon system if you'd like. But listing off the rest of the buttons, we have the window lockout, the regular window controls, the mirror controls that are power folding like you saw a little bit earlier, and a trunk release. Moving on to the left of the dash, we have some pretty cool styled air vents. A couple of buttons over here to turn your parking sensors on and off, also your start-stop on and off. Our lighting controls with your fog lights and gauge dimmers. I have a little storage cubby over here that's all felt line. It goes in pretty deep. We have our pedals down here too, which are pretty nice. You can see the buttons for the where you can button in your floor mats. There's also a couple things I wanted to go over while we're over here. So we have the nice column mounted paddle shifters. And then we also have the stock for the turn signals. You turn off our lane keep assist with the button at the end and our high beams. We also have the release over here for the tilt and telescoping steering wheel. Those are just some things that I like to point out while I'm outside of the car because it's a little bit hard to see them when you're in. We also have 2 different seats available. Now this is sort of your comfort seat, not too much of the crazy bolsters. However, you can get a sport seat, obviously in the TI Sport, or the Quadrifoglio. And that'll come with really aggressive bolsters that really hug you in quite nice. Those are definitely the sporty setup, and for a smaller individual, definitely. On the headrest, you have the Alfa Romeo shield imprinted with some stitching. Really stitching quite everywhere on the seat as well. And of course, it's fully powered with 4-way lumbar. The only thing it doesn't seem to have is a front lift of the seat, so it only will lift the back. Well, let's hop in, start it up, and check out the rest of the features. Alright, so here's the key fob you get when you purchase a Stelvio or a Giulia, so they're pretty much the same key fobs. Really nice, pretty thick key fob. It's got a nice weight to it. You have the big Alfa Romeo logo on the back side, and you can actually squeeze in these 2 plastic pieces like so where my fingers are. That portion will slide off, and the physical key is on the inside in case your battery dies. But as far as functionalities go, we have the lock, unlock, trunk release, remote start, which is a huge plus in this segment of vehicle. Not a lot of them have it. The panic alarm, and yet another Alfa Romeo logo. So all you need to do to start this car, of course, you just push button ignition. Just put your foot on the brake and hit the steering wheel mounted button. Okay, so let's start off the details of the interior with what's right in front of us, and that is, of course, the beautiful leather wrapped steering wheel. Now, I have to say, when these Stelvios first came out, they weren't the leader in quality. The steering wheel wasn't as nice as it is now, and the materials just weren't there. For the 2020 model year, again, as I said earlier, it had an update. The steering wheel is much nicer. The materials in the cabin are much improved. And I have to say, that has done wonders. And it even feels better in the hand, the steering wheel. But as far as functionalities go, you have the adaptive cruise control settings over here on the left. Obviously, the engine on and off button right there. We have the airbag cover with the Alfa Romeo shield. And then we also have all of our media controls. So the Bluetooth telephone, voice commands, volume up and down, and then skipping between our tracks. Nice little metal portion down on the bottom spoke. And behind the steering wheel, obviously, you can again see the paddle shifters and how they're mounted to the column. And then you can also make out the stalk for the front and rear wipers. So you turn the rear wipers on by pushing down, and the front by pushing up, and then you have two automatic settings, which is pretty cool too. And there's also a button on the end of the stalk that controls the screen in the center. Now let me start off by saying, don't go crazy because the check engine light on and the auto start stop light is on. This car hasn't been PDI'd yet, so it's still got all the warning lights and everything on. This car is really fresh off the truck, so that's why the check engine light is on. But as far as the gauges go, we have a coolant temperature, the rev counter, an LCD display in the center, which has a couple of different menus. You also have the speedometer and the fuel gauge off to the other side. But in the center display, there's a couple of different menus, and you can get to those menus again by pressing the button at the end of the stalk. This one is kind of like a basic information screen. It kind of shows you your headlights, so if your auto high beams are on and off, your gear, your lane keep assist function, what's going on with the radio, your exterior temperature, time, a large digital speedometer, and then also your real-time fuel economy at the bottom. So again, pressing that button at the end of the stalk, you can get more information about your trip. So it's trip A, trip B over here. Also how much mileage you have to empty. This one also gives you a graph based on your fuel economy, which is pretty cool. And going over to the last one, we have sort of your driver's assistance screen. So these lines will kind of indicate your lane keep assist and whatnot. So pretty cool little screen in there with some useful information. Taking a look at the upper of the dash, it's the same materials as the upper doors. We have a couple of speakers, one in the center and one to each side. And that also takes us down to our infotainment screen. So now it is both touchscreen, and you can also control it with the rotary knob, which is similar to BMW's iDrive. But for now, we're just going to use the touchscreen function. This is pretty much your home screen. It'll give you a jumbulation of 3 different screens, and then you can also swipe to see more, and that'll pretty much be all of your menus within the system. I'm just going to highlight a few things on each screen just to make this go by a little bit quicker. We have all of our presets down at the bottom, and you can have a few pages of them. We have skip, and then your volume in the center, and then what's going on with the screen, or what is actually playing on the radio rather. Then we have all of our radio stations here. We could also change the source right there as well. Going back to home, we have our compass, which has to do with our navigation and whatnot. We also have our phone screen. And we could swipe over to the next set of apps, which has to do with our driver's assistance. So you can see all of the driver's assistance this car has. You could turn them on and off, all of them on and off rather, which is a very nice feature. We also have our climate that you can access through the screen. You can see where you want the air to blow, defrosters, body, feet, your fan speed right there, and then all of your different climate control settings down below, and then our temperatures on a slider to either side. Then you can also access to turn on your heated seats and heated steering wheel as well through that menu. One thing that's really cool here is we have our performance pages. That goes along very nicely with the nature of this Alfa Romeo, because it's sort of a sporty SUV, and they give you some pretty cool sporty screens, such as your boost pressure right there, oil pressure, and your real-time torque. We also have performance content. Pretty neat to see that screen. We have our consumption, which is kind of like an extended graph of what you saw within the gauge cluster. Also your efficient drive. It'll kind of score you on how you are driving, how efficiently you're driving. And then what's going on with the all-wheel drive. So we can see the front wheels are not needed right now, and the rear wheels are driving the car. So very nice to see that they gave you that screen there. That's pretty cool. We also have vehicle information, so when your car needs to be serviced is there. We also have the engine oil, your DNA modes, so the dynamic, natural, and advanced efficiency. There's also a dial in the center to quickly change those modes. And lastly, we have an electronic owner's manual here too. Going back, we have our connected services and also our settings. So we can see there's quite a bit of customability in the settings department. So quickly go into the system settings, see what we can change with that too. So pretty neat screen. It is all touchscreen. Again, if you would like to use the dial in the center, use very much like your iDrive in the BMW. So you twist to go through the different menus, press down, and then you can also twist the knob up, down, left, and right to go through different menus. You also have the home button and your settings button too. So right below the screen we have a couple of air vents. In the center we have the four-way flashers and all of our physical climate control buttons. So very nice, pretty much easy to use climate control. The one thing that I'd really like to see is physical buttons for where the air comes out. Instead you have this one button and it shows up on the left-hand bottom of the screen where the air is coming out. I really like to see it if they had a button for each place of where the air comes out. Other than that, very easy to use. Two dials for the temperatures, so it's dual zone climate control. You have an automatic recirculating button in the center, and then a center button for the fan speed and the AC to turn that on and off. You have front and rear defrosters, your heated driver's seat, heated steering wheel, and heated passenger seat. Nice attention to detail down here with the leather and stitching on your knee pads. You have a USB connection and a 12-volt power outlet. You can slide this portion back to reveal a couple of cup holders. And if you have a regular sized iPhone, you can also prop that up in there if you'd like. Taking a look down here in the center console, you have that same sort of trim that you see on the dashboard and the doors. There are quite a few buttons and whatnot going on here. And we'll get through on the shift knob. So again, this is one of the very improved parts of the Stelvio. So before it was kind of a chintzy looking shift knob. Now for 2020 and up, it's a very nice upscale looking shift knob. But of course it is an 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission. And the way you get it into gears is there's a little unlock at the back that you need to press. And if we can pull it back into drive like that, we can also put it up into reverse, where our parking sensors will be activated. You can see the little visuals there, and if you get close to something, it'll kind of light up. You can also see the reversing camera, and the lines move as the steering wheel turns. And park is right up here. You can see down here some nice aluminum trim with the Italian flag. You also have an electronic parking brake, so the white light is illuminated when it's activated. Press down to deactivate and pick up to activate. Just make sure your foot's on the brake when you do that. I also give you a little tray here, maybe to put coins or something like that. And you also have your knob for your dynamic, normal, and advanced efficiency modes. You have another knob over here for your audio volume, so you can put it up and down. Press down to turn the audio off. Then you can also go back and forth like this to skip tracks. And lastly, down here, one more knob like you saw earlier to control the screen. And we also have a wireless charging pad right here, so if you can actually prop your phone right in here, it'll slide down. It's out of sight, out of mind, and it's also charging. Pretty neat spot to put that. Your phone won't move around anywhere. And you also have a nice center console with the leather covered lid. You can lift that up. Have a little bit of storage in here. Also some more connections, so a regular USB, a USB-C, and an auxiliary. Taking a look at the top, we have the auto dimming day and night mode mirror. You can press the button right here to turn that function off. And we also have a couple buttons on the center stack. So we have some LED illumination that fades on and off for your reading lamps. You also have more illumination options, so you can turn that feature on to where if you open the doors, all the lights will come on. You have an SOS button. Also, 2 separate buttons for your sunshade and sunroof. So the one on the left is sunshade, one on the right is sunroof. I have a nice gray cloth headliner, and as you can see, the sunshade to the roof blocks most of the light, not 100% of it, but it is sort of a translucent cloth. And we can move the shade back, and it'll kind of stop at a halfway point, like so. So you have the front portion open and the rear portion closed. And if you'd like to open it fully, just press the button once more, and it'll open up all the way. Again, you can use this button to slide the sunroof back, and this button to tilt it up. Just a few more things I'd like to mention before we get into the back. You have these nice visors that'll fold down. You have card holders, it looks like, to either side, and an illuminated mirror. You also do have 3 garage links up on the visor too. You can also move it back to cover light on the side, and it moves back and forth to cover any light that will come in on the side. So you have it sort of towards the front or towards the rear, depending on where the sun is coming in. And you also have a grab handle up here. So for the next portion of the video, I'm going to adjust the driver's seat to a comfortable position for myself, and I am 5'10", and we'll check out how much room we have in the rear of the Stelvio. Alright, so taking a look at the rear, you can see it's still got some wrapping on it. This car is brand new. And the materials are just like up front. So we have a soft touch up here, leather down here for your armrest, and a hard touch plastic. You even have a little water bottle holder, a couple of speakers on the rear door, your door handle and your lock unlock control, and your window. I have some pretty nice rear seats, and they're pretty bolstered on the side over here, as you can see, and that really gives it the illusion of a bucket seat back here, even though it is a bench. You can see this little tether hanging out over here, and if you pull that right up, it actually turns into a ski hatch. So the center portion will fold down. That way you can stick something long and kind of skinny through the center of the car and still have enough room for 2 rear passengers. So hopping in back here, it's not too bad. Now a lot of people complain about the room on the Stelvio in the rear. It's not all that bad. I am 5'10". That could make a difference. We might have other people that are taller reviewing these cars, but it's really not all that bad. I have about 2 inches or 3 inches of legroom. You have a mat pocket here. You have a couple of rear climate control vents and a couple of USB chargers. Of course, heated seats are available, but this one does not have it. Panoramic sunroof continues nicely back here. It kind of ends in ratio to the rear headrest like that. So it's a pretty large rear sunroof, and you can also see that there's cutouts in the ceiling for your head. So therefore you have plenty of headroom back here. I'd say at least an inch of headroom for myself. You also have a armrest back here with a couple of cup holders. Again, a little spot to prop up your phone. And it even says Alfa Romeo on the back. And you also have some lighting that could kind of double for the back seats and the cargo area. Of course, they are LED. You have grab handles up top. And again, not too bad of an interior rear as far as the space goes, if you're not too tall of an individual. But next, let's go ahead and check out the front passenger space. Alright, so quickly I'd like to highlight a few things in the front passenger space. Pretty much the same door panel as on the driver's side, just a few less buttons. I'd like to also show you guys the glove box. Now it's completely felt lined, heavily dampened, and you have a decent amount of space in there too. You have a storage net to the side, and you also have full powered seats as the same as the driver, so 4-way lumbar, the whole 9 yards. So like you saw earlier, there is a button on the key fob to pop the trunk, and you just press the button twice. Of course, the trunk lid is fully powered and it'll open right up for you. Back here we have a pretty good amount of storage behind the rear seats. Now it's not so much wide as it is deep. So you can see we have the carpeted mats back here, the load floor with the tie downs in all 4 corners. We also have the cargo shade that'll come out. There's also another secondary cargo shade attached to the trunk to cover any pesky eyes looking in through the rear window. You can see we also have the subwoofer for the audio system. We have lights on either side, grocery bag hangers on either side, and we also have a 12-volt power outlet back here. We have these handles on either side which fold down the rear seats. Very nice to see that. And that goes for both sides. Looking underneath the cargo floor, we have some segmented storage with some tools. And if you lift this part up, you should have a spare tire underneath. A couple of buttons up here to close the trunk, one to close the trunk and lock the door, and one just simply to close the trunk. So, popping the fuel door, we do have a 16.9 gallon fuel tank, and according to the window sticker and the EPA, you should be getting right around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 28 on the highway. You also have this cap, and if you unscrew it, they give you a place to hang it so it doesn't scratch your paint. And as you can see, premium fuel is recommended because of the turbocharger. Okay, so to conclude this video, I hope you have enjoyed the 2021 Alfa Romeo Stelvio in the new Sprint trim level, and I hope you now have a full knowledge of this car. Stay with us here at NNT Auto Reviews for future in-depth walk-around videos.